Alrighty. I think we're live. I don't know if we are yet. 1 second. It looks like we're live. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to our latest live stream. And yeah, we are live. All right, cool. I just want to make sure. All right, so for this live stream, we are live on both YouTube and Facebook. So I'll be watching both chats for questions. But we're going to be going over the severe weather potential for tomorrow. There might be a severe weather outbreak. We'll be talking about large to very large hail, damaging winds, potential for some tornadoes will exist in areas like the southern plains for tomorrow. I'll also touch base a little bit on the winter storm that'll impact the Midwest as we go into really Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'll talk more details on that later in this forecast. But before we get too far into it, make sure that you're subscribed down below if you're on YouTube. Make sure you're following the page if you're over on Facebook, and also make sure to like the video or stream wherever you are. Again, we'll be live on both platforms here, again answering questions here in just a little bit. But let me get to the forecast, because I didn't actually make a video forecast today. That was intentional. I wanted to do a live stream instead, just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening, more of an in-depth look at what we're going to be watching for tomorrow. So let's just begin with what's happening today across the United States, and really the big discussion is going to be this low pressure system. It's currently centered not too far away there from Colorado, and this is going to eventually move off to the east over the next 24 hours. This is what's going to spur up some severe weather across the southern plains. Areas like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana all have chances for severe weather tomorrow. We'll also be watching for the threat of a winter storm out of this low pressure system as well. Back over on the eastern tier of the United States, this is where high pressure is now dominating that region. There was originally a nor'easter that brought a ton of snow. That's way on the right side of your screen. It's kind of off the screen, I think. Yeah, it's just off the screen, but there was a nor'easter that did impact the Northeast over the last 72 hours. That is finally moving out. If anything, there might just be a little bit of light snow remaining over that direction. So over the next few days, let's kind of give you an idea of what's happening here across at least the southern plains, back through areas in the Midwest. So beginning with Thursday morning, that is when this low pressure system, not going to be overly organized. This will not be a very organized system in comparison to some of the other low pressure systems that we've seen in the past. Some of them are like bowling ball lows, and they look pretty wild. You know, there's a very defined low pressure system, rain everywhere around it, including some snow on the northern end sometimes. This one, though, is not going to be very organized. You can see snow and rain all up and down this streaking area from Texas all the way back into Minnesota. And what really this means is that it's going to be a bit more of a disorganized sort of event from anywhere in the northern plains all the way back down into the southern plains. But the thing is, it will be organized enough to produce a severe weather potential outbreak. I won't call it an actual severe weather outbreak yet, because there's a possibility that it won't be an outbreak, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit once we get to that discussion. But going through Thursday night into Friday, that is when this low pressure system will finally become more organized. That is, though, when this actually moves into areas like the southeast and back through areas in Michigan and even into the eastern Midwest. By Friday morning and into Saturday, this low pressure system for the most part will move out of the United States. By Saturday, we should be done with that. Big discussion as well will be a high pressure system back up in the northern plains. Very cold air will start to usher into areas like Texas all the way back through the Ohio Valley. We could see a huge area of freezing temperatures this weekend that could extend into Texas, and I'll tell you more on that again a little bit later in this forecast. In terms of the watches and warnings across the United States, we do have winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings in effect again for those up in the Midwest and as well as the northern plains. Again, I'll talk about more on this here in a little bit. Freeze warnings also in effect over in the southeast, and again, this is not going to be the only freeze warnings that we'll see over the next 7 days, because a very strong cold blast will impact the United States going into this weekend. Now let's talk about that severe weather potential outbreak for tomorrow. There is currently an enhanced risk of severe weather that does include areas like the Metroplex, back through southeast Oklahoma into southwestern Arkansas, and as well as into really a large chunk of North Texas. And really the biggest area of concern for tomorrow will be really the most populated area in this entire region, and that is going to be right here in the DFW Metroplex. This is where we could see large to very large hail. That could be upwards of baseball-sized hail. That's not out of the question. Or if you would like to call it, as Reed Timmer does, gorilla hail. That's basically what we're looking at here in this region. Along with that, damaging wind gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour also possible across this region, and in addition to that, maybe a few tornadoes across this entire area that again extends all the way into even southwestern Missouri all the way back through Texas. So pretty large area for tomorrow. Main concern, as I mentioned before, is large hail. In fact, there is a hatched area that is really just in southern Oklahoma back through the Metroplex and DFW. So obviously I know a lot of you that are watching right now are from North Texas. we're unfortunately in the area of where we could see large to very large hail, and this is really the most concerning area where we probably will see at least 2 to 3 storms or so producing some fairly large hailstones. So again, if you're in the Metroplex, make sure you take those proper precautions tonight. Don't wait until like tomorrow afternoon, because storms will likely be already developing by then, and I'll have a full timing guide on this, by the way, in just a few minutes. But again, this is the area to watch for the most significant hail threat. Once we go a bit further down to the south and west and also back up to the north, that hail threat is a bit lower. Lapse rates will not be as high, which basically means the temperature as we go up into the atmosphere will be a bit warmer in comparison to areas like DFW, where the lapse rate will be much steeper, which will allow for some larger hailstones. And I'll put that into a bit more of a picture here in just a moment. All right, let's talk about the damaging wind threat as well. I wouldn't be the most concerned about damaging winds in the Metroplex. I'm more concerned about the hail threat. However, there is still a 30% probability area. This is where an enhanced risk also does exist for those from southwestern Arkansas back into southeast Oklahoma and into parts of North Texas. We very well could see some flying trampolines tomorrow, so make sure to hatch those down. Also, the tornado threat for tomorrow is not high by any means. It isn't even as high as what we saw back a couple of Thursdays ago when we had that great trampoline outbreak of 2023. That's what I at least call it. That outbreak that we had, that is not going to be the same sort of tornado threat. And even then, the tornado threat wasn't really that high with that event. We only saw like one tornado, I think, in all of North Texas, so good news there. This should be a pretty similar instance. However, these storms may be a bit more discreet in comparison to what we saw a couple of weeks ago, so that may hinder really the low tornado threat. It might be slightly higher than what we saw last time. So 1 to 2 tornadoes is really my expectation right now for North Texas. All right, in terms of the dew points and the buoyancy with this event, kind of go through some of the setup with this event, give you an idea of what's actually happening here and what's going on. Because obviously, if you've been in North Texas today, if you've gone outside, the dew points are in the 30s. It feels fantastic outside. That is not going to last much longer. Tomorrow morning, the dew points will be right up into the 50s and 60s, and eventually by the afternoon and evening, dew points are into the low to mid 60s. This will create a lot of buoyancy to be able to create more supercell thunderstorms here across the Metroplex. And again, really all across Texas. I know I've been mentioning DFW a lot. That's obviously the main area that's included. But again, the moisture does extend in a very large area. In fact, it goes all the way back up into Missouri. So, you know, there could even be severe weather as far north as Missouri there with dew points, even surpassing 55 degrees there. But obviously the main area is still going to be in Texas. In terms of the instability, this is what helps fuel thunderstorms. Think of this as like gasoline going into a vehicle, basically what helps to fuel your car. In this case, it's helping to fuel severe thunderstorms, and we're gonna have a lot of instability out there tomorrow, especially in the afternoon. Daylight heating in the morning will really help to be able to lift a lot more instability there into the atmosphere. We're probably gonna see values upwards of 1500 joules per kilogram, which in this case, it is kind of pretty similar to what we saw a couple of Thursdays ago, but again, it's not the same sort of setup in terms of the low pressure system and where that's centered. They are still two completely different entities, but in terms of instability, they do compare pretty nicely. In terms of the lapse rates, again, this is what helps to create larger hailstones, and even by tomorrow afternoon and near the evening hours, lapse rates are almost 8 degrees Celsius per kilometer. What that means is that we're having a very steep incline, or decline I should say, of temperatures from the surface up into the atmosphere. What that helps to do with these supercells, especially if they have a lower base, is when those hailstones develop, they will be larger when they reach the surface, and that's the big concern for tomorrow. We're watching for that threat for some large to very large hail across North Texas, and even going through Friday morning, we're still not really going to see much of anything by then. But for those down in the southeast, lapse rates will still be around 6 to 7, so we might still see some quarter-sized hail isolated areas back through areas in Texas or southeast Texas and back into Louisiana, so something to watch for there. Also, in terms of the tornado threat, I know a lot of people have been like, holy crap, there's another day of tornadoes. This shouldn't be too bad in terms of a tornado threat, but you should still have a plan in place just in case there is a tornado warning in your area. I would not rule that out tomorrow at all, but obviously it's going to probably be a pretty isolated risk. Here's what it looks like though in the tornado parameter. The values are not going to be that impressive. We're talking 1 to 2 at the highest. That is a low-end tornado threat here across North Texas back through southeast Oklahoma. I would honestly say the highest tornado threat will probably be actually in this area here. I kind of think that southeast Oklahoma back through northeast Texas is kind of the area where I think there might be a couple of tornadoes. I would say the highest threat, though, does reside a little bit further off to the north and east of the Metroplex. Here, let me take a little water break here real quick. All right, and let's go through the updraft helicity. This is another tool that we kind of use to kind of identify what the tornado threat is as well. What this really shows here, you can probably just see these like little strands here. This gives us an idea of how widespread that tornado threat will be. And since there's really only a couple of lines here, just in a general sense of things, because I know I'm not going to go into a huge deep dive into this, but what this is basically showing is an isolated tornado threat. It's primarily, again, going to probably be east of Interstate 35, back through areas in southeast Oklahoma and northeast Texas. There may be an isolated tornado again somewhere near the Metroplex, but I still think that's a low threat. I think that's the lowest threat in my eyes for tomorrow. Hail is definitely still the main threat. All right, let's go through the timing. Let's begin with Oklahoma, and then we'll go into North Texas in just a second. It all really begins though in Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon. Storms will fire up sometime between 2 to 6 o'clock. It depends on when the cap really erodes, because there will be a weak cap in place. Keep that in mind. There will actually be a cap in place if for some reason the temperature does not get high enough during the daytime tomorrow. If there's a lot more cloud cover than forecasted or something like that, and the temperatures are lower, there might be enough of a cap to prevent some of this severe weather. But I'm kind of betting on that there will probably not be any sort of cap by about 3 to 4 o'clock tomorrow. So by 3 to 4 o'clock, that is when we'll start to see supercell thunderstorms develop, primarily in southern and southeastern Oklahoma. So areas like McAllister, right around 4 o'clock is when you'll probably have storms knocking on your doorstep. Eventually closer to 5 to 6 o'clock, those storms will be moving through areas like southeast Oklahoma and into North Texas, where areas like Sherman and Paris will be able to see some storms. Then all the storm activity in Oklahoma will move out by about 8 to 9 o'clock. Now let's talk about where all of the really biggest threats will be for tomorrow, and that is North Texas. And I know it might scare some of you, but there's no reason to be scared. Just make sure that you're prepared for tomorrow, have a way to receive alerts, cover your car tonight or even tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's fine as well. We won't have a severe weather tomorrow morning, but just take those proper precautions, and please tie down your trampolines. We do not need more flying trampolines. The last severe weather outbreak that we had, I literally posted about 30 different trampoline photos out of 300 that were sent in to me, and that's not even an exaggeration. I had over 300 photos of trampolines that blew away or got damaged in my feed on the last event, which is only 2 weeks ago. So please tie them down. I'm hoping to only get maybe 10 this time in comparison to like 300. But in terms of the severe weather for tomorrow, let's kind of go through the timeline. So one thing to note for tomorrow morning and during the early afternoon hours, there might be a couple of showers and storms that develop out in front of the dry line. So right back out here in eastern Texas or eastern North Texas, this is where we might see a couple of storms develop. If anything, these might produce quarter-sized hail and isolated 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. This is not an area that I'm that concerned about for tomorrow. Back through North Texas as we go closer to 4 to 5 o'clock, that is when storms will start to fire up very quickly in areas like Sherman, back through DFW. So right around 4 to 5 o'clock is when I would expect the storms to fire up. There is a chance if the storms are able to initiate a little bit sooner that we might see storms even as far west as areas just east of Wichita Falls, in between areas like Bowie and maybe even into Clay County. We might see a couple of storms fire up that far to the west, but for right now, if the cap kind of stays where we're trying to forecast right now, it's probably going to start developing right here near Interstate 35W. Eventually by 5 to 6 o'clock, storms will start to really ramp up and intensify. So areas near Sherman and Paris can expect storms between about 5 to 8 o'clock. By 7, storms will be rolling through the DFW Metroplex. And again, I do plan on being live tomorrow for this event, so make sure that you're subscribed down below and turn on post notifications. Or if you're on Facebook, excuse me, make sure to follow the page. Going closer to 6 to 7 o'clock, those storms will be moving through the Metroplex. Main concern again will be damaging winds, large hail. Those are our main concerns. We might see an isolated tornado, so have a way to receive alerts. Eventually going closer to 9 to 10 o'clock, that entire area of storms will move off to the east and southeast, where damaging winds will become the main concern after about 8 or 9 o'clock. Hail threat will be the most prominent during the really the afternoon hours, especially in the Metroplex. Now, let's talk about the threats and all that sort of stuff. Let me move my face cam here. We have a bunch of different graphics to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Beginning with the severe weather threats for tomorrow. This is for North Texas. Main concern, again, will be large hail. I know it says medium. I would probably push this closer to a high risk because I still think the hail threat is definitely the greatest threat for tomorrow. Damaging winds will also be a pretty big concern, but it will not be nearly as high as large hail. Again, damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour are possible. And then the tornado threat is low. It's not the lowest we've ever seen. It's also not at the highest we've ever seen. I would say that the tornado threat should be pretty low there. And also, for those that are wondering about the timing, this is the timing guide here across North Texas. So for those over into western North Texas, we'll be talking about storms before 5 o'clock, and this is if storms develop. Just kind of keep that in mind. I posted this on Facebook earlier. This is the area where if storms are able to develop, then we'll probably, you know, we could see storms before 5, but anything after 5 o'clock, you will not see storms that far to the west. For those in the Metroplex, best chances between 5 to 8 o'clock, give or take an hour on that. We might see a storm a little bit earlier than that. It might even be as early as 4 o'clock, so keep that in mind. So somewhere between 4 to 8 o'clock is a realistic range for the Metroplex, and then anywhere back out here to the east after 7 o'clock is the best chance for storms, but it might be a little bit after 8 o'clock, to be honest with you. I think the timing may just be a slightly later out that far to the east. Here's also an outlook in terms of the severe weather threat. I have to keep moving my face cam. We're going in like a little square here. But here's a threat across North Texas. If you want, take a screenshot of this. This is a very close representation to the actual threats here across North Texas. So I'll leave this on the screen here for just a second. But again, most of the Metroplex is included in that threat. I do believe this actually expanded slightly to the south, but again, you get the general picture here. This is our main concern for severe weather. And then here's your trampoline outlook. Unfortunately, I could not fit this onto the entire screen, but this is your trampoline meter. Let me just remove my face cam for a second. I've never done that before, but this is what we're looking at here in terms of the trampoline meter. We are on a high risk for tomorrow due to the fact that there will be some pretty high damaging winds. But again, I appreciate all the submissions for the trampolines on this graphic. All right, let's go back over to the other graphics here, and we'll go back through other areas as well. Again, if you have any questions, if you're watching on Facebook, I'll be going over those in just a second, so stay tuned. And also on Facebook, or also on YouTube. All right, let's go over the timing for Southeast Texas. Main threat down this direction will be damaging winds. We'll have a weakening line of storms over this direction. Outflow boundary likely to just make this more into a damaging wind threat, if anything. So if you're down in Houston, that is my only concern. It's really going to be more of an overnight threat. Back through Arkansas, you'll have a ton of rain over this direction. I would be more concerned about damaging winds along with more of a rain threat. There very well could be upwards of 2 inches of rain across this region. Main timeline will be after 8 o'clock through about midnight to 1 in the morning, and then the storms should be moving out of those areas. Louisiana, not really too different over here. It's going to be mainly a damaging wind threat. You might actually see a little bit of isolated large hail as well in the morning, but this is what it looks like by then. Really just a line of storms producing mainly just some damaging winds. In terms of the rainfall totals, we'll be talking about upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rain in parts of southern Arkansas and even into northern Louisiana. And back here in DFW, even though we're going to see some pretty nasty hailstorms most likely, we're only talking maybe up to a ½ an inch of rain, so not nearly as bad over that direction. And then back over into areas like or actually, let's go over the temperatures and I'll go to the next graphic. In terms of the temperatures out of this event, we're gonna have a pretty big cold blast. I mentioned this earlier. Temperatures will dip into the 40s and 50s for highs in North Texas, lows into the 30s, and there will be pretty much a whole weekend and even into early next week of cold air in North Texas. So again, make sure you're prepared for that. Below freezing temperatures are going to be possible across a large chunk of the country. Only state really not included in that would be Florida. Also, if you notice today, I have had a lot of viewers in North Texas send me a photo of this. There were actually cloud streaks today in the sky, and these are these little clouds here. Look at this kind of closely. This is the satellite imagery from a little while ago, and they're basically just streaking clouds here. You can see them all here. It's very cool. It was primarily seen in the western Metroplex, so just west of Tarrant County, and even in Denton County, very defined area there of cloud streaks. If you have any photos, feel free to send them in to me on Facebook, but very cool cloud formation today. I'll have a photo of that on Facebook in 37 minutes, so stay tuned for that. And actually, another little thing I wanted to show you before we go into questions, for those in North Texas, a little bit of an interesting kind of thing coming potentially going into Friday morning. Now, this is probably not going to happen, but if the rain does stick around long enough on Friday morning, there might be a little bit of light, snow and rain mix across the Metroplex Friday morning. I wouldn't rule it out. It's a low chance for right now, but it's obviously gonna be something to watch out for pretty closely because again, you might want to go outside and get a couple more snowflakes out there before the winter season ends. Real quick, there is a new update from the HRR model. It just came in, the 00Z model run. I'm not sure if it goes far out enough yet to show severe weather, and it does not yet. This is 4 o'clock, so I'm going to keep this on the screen, or I'll keep it at least in the back of our head here, and we'll show this once it comes up again. But we're right now at the 21-hour run, so once we get to the 24-hour run, should be in like 4 or 5 minutes, I'll show you the most recent future radar update, and this is usually pretty accurate. So I'll keep a close eye on this. And again, this is one of the concerns for tomorrow. For those in eastern North Texas, we might see a few storms develop out in front of the dry line. These might produce isolated large hail, but our main event will be again over here. And this is, again, this might trick you a little bit tomorrow. If you're looking at the radar, you might think we're done with storms. That's not necessarily true. The dry line will not pass through the Metroplex until probably about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. So again, storms will likely develop around then, as long as the cap does erode, which again, it is currently forecasted to pretty much erode. Here's 5 o'clock on the HRR model, and you can see here, this is when storms are currently being estimated to form in the Metroplex right around 4 to 5 o'clock, and then they would start to progress and really strengthen across this region by then. So that's what we're looking at currently in terms of the timing. Alrighty, let's get to some chat questions. Hope everybody's doing well. Again, we are live on both YouTube and Facebook. And yeah, all right. Everybody's having a good evening so far. Again, I haven't actually been live in a couple weeks now. The last time I was live, I'm pretty sure, was that severe weather event. So when am I going live tomorrow? I'm planning right now with the most recent computer model runs, probably about 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock Central. That's currently my timing. And again, I'll be live on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you're over on YouTube or over on Facebook, you'll have a way to, watch my live stream if there's any severe weather. I'm only gonna be really covering North Texas, with maybe a small exception right along the Red River. Maybe if there's a storm here, I might cover it, but it'll be mainly just a North Texas live stream, just like what I did 2 weeks ago, just so I can dual live stream to both platforms without, any complaints or anything like that. So I'll make it easier. And anyways, I mean, this is really the area where we're gonna see the most significant severe weather. If you haven't already seen, this is the area of significant severe weather. It's pretty much almost all in North Texas, and then a little bit in southern Oklahoma. And I know a couple people have asked me as well in the chat, is there going to be a moderate risk of severe weather tomorrow? I doubt it. I don't expect a moderate risk with this sort of event. It's a very small area to begin with. And to be honest with you, there's a chance of a cap, and I don't think the Storm Prediction Center is going to upgrade this to a moderate threat unless they are absolutely certain the cap erodes and all that sort of stuff. So I've had a couple people ask me. I think enhanced risk is perfectly fine. I think a moderate risk is a little bit overboard, but yeah, I don't think they'll issue a moderate risk for this, but definitely an enhanced risk. This will not get downgraded unless something drastically changes. So pray for a cap. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been saying that on Facebook today. Pray for the cap. But yeah, again, the hail threat is really over the Metroplex. If you're in the DFW Metroplex, make sure you're prepared for this. Also, if you're not already and you need any sort of person to be able to help you with any sort of hail damage tomorrow, in terms of roofing, we have a roofing sponsor right below me, and we also have a hail dents for cars. That is Jimmy at All Dents Repair. I actually have to fix my overlay, so that's included because I forgot I'm on Facebook. Oh, 1 second. Let's try to fix this real quick. That should be fixed. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, we have two sponsors both below. If you're in North Texas, that is the way to go. Again, great people at both of those companies. That's why I sponsor them, or that's why they sponsor me. So Rockwall's main threat is going to be large hail. And actually, let's go back to the timing again. This is the most recent model run. And again, wow, look at this. The HRR model is going pretty crazy with these hailstorms. This is the most recent model run from the HRR model as of literally right now. This is like the most recent computer model run. What it's doing right now is putting all those equations into this computer model and kind of gives an idea of what we're seeing potentially tomorrow. The HRR model is going pretty crazy with these storms tomorrow. I mean, again, this is where we're really going to be watching for a potentially significant hail threat, along with the threat for some, damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. And again, there's a reason why I make a trampoline forecast now, because I want to make sure that you guys don't have flying trampolines tomorrow. And yeah, again, we have that right here. I don't know if it's gonna fit on the screen. Unfortunately, I don't have a very good view of this. For some reason, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. But yeah, again, this is the trampoline outlook. You can see this on Facebook if you want, but we're in a high risk for trampoline damage. So I wish I could show it in a better, like, ratio or whatever you call it, but I just can't for some reason. I tried to fix that before the stream, but I couldn't. All right, here's the most recent model run as of 7 o'clock. So again, yeah, this is really what we're looking at here across North Texas in the Metroplex. So between 5 to 7 o'clock, that is when storms really ramp up and develop, and it looks like 6 o'clock could be our peak right around then. So again, whenever severe storms really start firing up, and if it becomes very active, again, I'm not guaranteeing a live stream because, again, things always change. If there is a cap in place for whatever reason, which is a very low chance right now, obviously there's, more likely than not I won't be live. But if there is obviously storms ongoing and there's warnings and whatnot, I'll be live for this event. So again, the main time frame right now seems to be probably around 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when the stream would start, and it would probably go till about 8 or 9 o'clock, probably. But the main area that I'll be covering definitely will be the Metroplex. And it looks like right now, again, at least what the models are showing, the HR model has been showing very potent storms right around rush hour or just after that in the Metroplex. So we'll have to watch this very closely. Again, make sure you protect your cars. The hail threat is the greatest threat. I mentioned this several times, but this is our hail threat. We have a hatched area. This does mean up to baseball-sized hail is possible. In this sort of event, obviously, we can sometimes see up to like apple-sized hail and stuff like that, but I don't expect that. I think the maximum hailstone size tomorrow is baseballs. Might see an isolated storm get closer to maybe 3.25 or 3.5 inches in diameter, but I would say that's a pretty low chance at this time. So yeah, that's really my main concern. We might also see the threat again for some damaging winds and maybe a couple of tornadoes. All right. How's it going, Paul? Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tucker. Denton County. Yeah, Denton County is probably gonna be one of the worst places too for the severe weather event. Again, just based on what we know so far, the main areas that'll be impacted is going to be here in this area of North Texas. It's basically going to be from Decatur back through areas in Weatherford into the Metroplex, and I would expect really it depends on when the storms develop. Again, storms may develop an hour earlier or so, and this is again if the storms do develop an hour earlier, which this is not what the HR model is showing, but if they do, we could see some severe weather into counties like again Bowie, so Montague County, back into Parker and Wise County. You might see a couple of storms form there during around 4 to 5 o'clock, but eventually by 5 to 6 o'clock, that is when storms will move into the Metroplex. And these initial cells, I can't stress this enough, the initial storms will produce the most large hail out of any of the storms that we see tomorrow. And it's mainly because when we see these initial storms, they have really the most potential because they're really discrete. And that's what we're gonna be seeing tomorrow. But you see here by 6 o'clock, become a bit more, combined, and that kind of limits the overall hail threat just a little bit. And once this becomes more linear and moves a bit further off to the east, and once those lapse rates go down a little bit, that should lower the hail threat just a bit and turn into more of a damaging wind threat, which again is why when we go to the damaging wind threat and hail threat, this is the hail threat. 30% probability at areas here. Let me just kind of circle this for you and compare it to the wind threat. And then this over here is the wind threat. And again, notice here, the wind threat is further off to the east. And the main reason why, because of that, is because it's probably going to become a bit more linear once it moves a bit further off to the east, just to the east of Interstate 35W. So this is the main area for, some trampolines flying. So biggest concern out that direction. Kansas City will not see anything wild per se. I wouldn't expect anything wild. Actually, let me pull up a graphic. Let's go over to here real quick. The wind gusts behind this. I haven't really actually looked at the wind gusts here, but the wind gusts should be pretty high behind this low pressure system. And yeah, they'll be pretty high. This is going into overnight Thursday into Friday. Trash can alert, by the way. We'll have a high trash can meter for well, I'll probably post it tomorrow, but we'll probably have some wind gusts upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour across the southern plains, and then eventually by Friday afternoon it subsides a bit. Back into Kansas City, I think the wind gusts might be a bit higher up there. Yeah, the wind gusts over this direction will be around 30 to 40, maybe even up to 50 miles per hour, so definitely some higher wind gusts there for sure. So yeah, if you're curious about the wind gusts and stuff like that behind this, in terms of obviously behind the severe weather, that's what we're looking at currently across those areas. What is the recreational aircraft threat in the hatched areas? I took an aviation meteorology course recently. I actually really couldn't tell you. All I know is that you don't want to fly into thunderstorms. It's the biggest thing I think I learned out of that class. And actually, my professor said, if you learn anything from this class, just make sure you remember, don't fly into thunderstorms. I'm not a pilot, but if you're in this area, obviously, if there's any storms out there, make sure to avoid them. There might be a lot of turbulence too tomorrow, especially with the higher upper level winds. Actually, let's go over to that real quick. I actually didn't, for some reason, I didn't show anybody, or I didn't show that to you guys. Let me go over to the upper level winds. Let's go to 700 millibars. So this is the low level jet, a little bit up off the surface. And again, this helps our tornado threat in terms of the rotating of the supercells. And right when they develop around 40 to 50 knots, that is a moderate low level jet for a tornado threat. But I still think the tornado threat is low tomorrow. This is the 500 millibar level. So this is up about, I think it's 9 kilometers. Let me double check. It's right around 9, I think. No, it's actually 6. I was way off. About 5.5, 6 kilometers. That's where this is. So a little bit off the surface, and winds will be around 50 to 60 knots. In comparison to today, if you flew a plane today, it's around 35, 40 knots. So there will definitely be some stronger winds going into tomorrow. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, the aviation weather class is something else. I learned a lot about weather soundings in that class. Weather soundings are so cool. I want to make a video on them. And what I mean by a weather sounding, for those that have no clue what I'm talking about, this is what one looks like right here. I'm not on the right screen. Let's go to here. So this is what a weather sounding looks like. Let me move my face cam over. So yeah, this is what a weather sounding looks like. You might have no clue what this even is. I'll just give you a general idea of what this actually is telling us. And this actually has a huge play into severe weather and stuff. This helps us to know what's going on in the atmosphere. And here's your temperature line. That's the red line here. This is the green line. That is your dew point. This is how we read temperature in Celsius, is these dashed lines. And again, that gives us an idea of what the temperature is aloft. So here's a huge temperature inversion going into Friday morning, but that's after the severe weather is done. If we actually go back over to when the storms are about to develop, this is around 1 o'clock tomorrow. This is a simulated sounding. Not really much of any cap is right now currently being forecasted from the HRR model. So that's something to keep in mind there. And if we go a little bit earlier into the day, let's just say 9 o'clock or so. I'm not sure if it's going to show anything different. Yeah, it shows like it doesn't even show a temperature inversion, but that's close to 1. So there might be a very weak cap in the morning, but there's probably not going to be any cap tomorrow. I'll be real with you. I don't think there'll be any cap with this event tomorrow. Again, if there is any, it's going to be weak. And by 4 o'clock, it should be gone by 4 o'clock, almost undoubtedly. But there might be a little bit of sinking air that might actually help a little bit. If these storms develop a bit closer, or these showers and storms develop a bit closer to the Metroplex, like late tomorrow morning, there might be a little bit of sinking air, which might prevent severe weather a little bit. And that's the problem with these storms initially around 8 o'clock or so. Again, those initial storms will develop, but you can see how they weaken a little bit more as they move off to the east. They're not nearly as strong, and that's because of this initial convective area of showers and even a couple of storms. It's going to really hurt these storms in the long term, especially going through areas like Texarkana and Shreveport and even Tyler. So that might help a little bit going into tomorrow if you're over those directions. So some good news if you're over there. But obviously for us in the Metroplex, there's really not a whole lot of good news to be told. It's kind of unfortunate. I wish there was, but there really isn't. Why does it say tornado without any storms? Yeah, so let's go back over to the sounding. I know some of you guys might be wondering what I'm even looking at in the sounding. So let's kind of go over this again. This is not a good example. Let me go back to when the storms are about to develop. So this is what we're looking at in the sounding. Now look to your right side of your screen. You see the possible hazard type. It says tornado. That doesn't mean that a tornado is going to happen here, even though there's nothing on the radar. I took a sounding, by the way, from no rain on the future radar here on the HRR model. But if you look at this, it says possible hazard type tornado. That just means if there is a storm there is a possible hazard type of a tornado. And it means there's some rotation and stuff like that. But this isn't an actual thing that's happening at this current time. Because again, this is where I put the sounding, right over Dallas. There's nothing there on the radar. So it just means that this is what might happen if there's to be a severe storm and the right ingredients and all that sort of stuff in place. And you can also see down here, this is some of the sounding analogs here back down in the supercell and the significant hail stuff. Look at the significant hail, and it actually estimates upwards of 3.75 inches in diameter if the environment is primed for it and all that sort of stuff, and if there's actually a storm there. But by the time storms actually develop, this is 6 o'clock. I'm not sure if it'll actually show anything, and actually it does. So yeah, you can see here, this is again an example. This is not exactly what's going to happen, but it gives you an idea of what might happen. And you can see here, the highest one here is 2.75 inches in diameter, with more middle ground or average hailstone sizes being estimated right around golf ball sized. And yeah, so again, soundings are a little bit confusing because there's just a lot of stuff on them, but they're actually, they're not actually as confusing as you might think. They if you learn them for 20 minutes, you'll probably know a lot about soundings, because there's a lot of stuff right off the bat that looks super confusing, but it really gets easy to learn all that sort of stuff if you take a class, which I did. So I kind of already knew a lot of that stuff though before a class. No problem, Randy. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and like the video. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or both, we are live on both platforms. And again, we'll be live again tomorrow, most likely. If there's severe weather in North Texas, I will be live streaming on both YouTube and Facebook again. So if you're on YouTube and you want to watch the live stream tomorrow, obviously just make sure you turn on post notifications. I will be live on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, I'll be live on Facebook as well. Just make sure you have post notifications turned on. I have no clue how you do that on Facebook, but what time you see it moving out of Fort Worth? Probably around 7 to 8 o'clock. Probably the only thing is with the HR model, it actually shows another little area of storms developing around 8. That's entirely possible. This is a look at the dew points, and once you see the dry air, this is your dry line here at 6 o'clock. You can see the dew points are still in the 60s in the Metroplex. Even by 7 to 8 o'clock, there's still a lot of moisture there. So by 8 o'clock is when DFW is still probably going to at least be partially in the clear, but partially not in the clear. There might still be a storm or two there because you can see again the dew points in the mid 60s. That is still capable of some severe weather, but once it drops here by about 9 o'clock, almost the entire 4-county Metroplex should be clear by then. So if you're in the DFW area, 9 o'clock is like the latest I would expect any storm activity, unless something again drastically changes in the next 24 hours, which it probably won't. But I always mention that just in case, because 1 hour can sometimes make a difference for planes. But you can see even going into Friday morning, temperatures really drop pretty quickly. And if you already didn't see this, by the way, let me go back to where I just was. I don't know where I was. Here we go. So one thing to note, by the way, I'm not sure if it still shows in the HR model, but this is going into Friday morning. There might be a rain-snow mix in western North Texas, maybe even in the DFW area. So you might wake up on Friday morning. There actually might be some light snow mixing in with rain. So cool stuff if it actually does happen, but it won't cause any travel impacts by any means, but you might be able to see a few snowflakes. That's if rain is still ongoing, if there is enough rain and enough moisture, but there won't be a whole lot of moisture behind this. And if we go over to the temperatures and dew points, let's go to the relative humidity here real quick. It should be supportive of rain, because one thing I was going to mention, if the air is too dry at the surface, it might hinder if there's actually any snow here. Let's go over again to here. You'll see forecasting one-on-one here. Let's go over to the soundings. I'll go over to the screen so you can actually see it. This is one that will potentially be rain and snow on Friday morning. Again, this is not, a forecast yet. I'll probably make a forecast on this tomorrow if this is actually going to happen. But currently, this is like at the surface, the dew point and the temperature. There's a little bit of spacing between them by about 10 degrees, but this wouldn't be enough to really melt all that rain and snow before it hits the surface. So if there is any rain snow mix on Friday morning, it will likely reach the surface. But the problem is you can see the surface temperature here. That is, again, way too warm for it to accumulate. And right here, here's your temperature line. There might even be a sleet mix as well, but there actually probably, it's more likely than not, even in Dallas, there might actually be more of a sleet rain mix. You can see here the temperature will go below freezing here in a little shallow area, so there might be a few sleet pellets on Friday morning in the Metroplex, but yeah, again, that's if you're curious on that end. So I'll have more a detailed forecast on that tomorrow if there's actually still some evidence that we might see that. It depends on the timing of this rain for Friday morning, and it's been a bit inconsistent for the last 24 hours, so we'll see what happens there. All right, let me go back to some chat questions. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat from Akala. Appreciate it. I don't remember from a few weeks ago. I remember you. I remember a lot of people. I haven't watched your channel in months. I totally understand, especially from Sherman. I know a lot of people on my YouTube channel, like, they don't watch my channel like regularly. They'll just tune in like once a month or whatever just to watch one weather forecast that actually includes the area, which is, I totally understand that. Don't worry about that. Can you check out the weather for Sherman, Texas? Yeah, Sherman, Texas is going to probably see severe storms between 5 to 8 o'clock. That's your time frame. I wouldn't rule it out around 4, but let's kind of put a realistic time frame on it. 4 to 8 o'clock. Let's go with that for Sherman. In terms of the hail threat, that's our main threat for tomorrow. So if you're in the Sherman area, your main threat will be large to very large hail, up to baseball-sized hail as possible out of a storm or two across this large area. Again, this is not just for Sherman. It is, again, this entire region is where we might see some baseball-sized hail. It's not just your home. I know a lot of people, when they hear about baseball-sized hail, they're thinking, oh my god, my home is gonna be hit by baseball-sized hail. Don't think that. The chances are almost, I'll be honest with you, they're low. It's not like a really high chance of hail, but you still want to be prepared for it, because if the storms do develop and they become primed, we'll probably see at least a couple of supercells produce some large to very large hail across North Texas and into southern Oklahoma, and that's what you want to be prepared for. Make sure you have your car covered, plants are covered, again, cover, please, for the love of God, your trampolines, tie them down. I had so many people in the last event have trampolines go flying everywhere. Let's make sure we have those tied down this time. Again, our trampoline meter for this event currently, and I unfortunately cannot fit this on the entire screen, but this is what we're looking at. There is right now no risk that's not on the table. We are right now at a high risk of trampoline damage, and they could go flying just like this one, but it shouldn't be as bad as this. All these photos are from the great trampoline outbreak of 2023. That was a couple of weeks ago in North Texas, and there were wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. Now, one good news sort of thing here is that the wind threat will be a bit further off to the east of the Metroplex. Overall, there might still be a couple of storms near DFW that actually produce that wind threat upwards of 70 miles per hour, but the threat is a bit higher further off to the east. We still have a threat here in the Metroplex, but it's a little bit lower in comparison to back out here in the east. And for those that are wondering what the last event was for wind damage and whatnot, we were at a 45% probability, and that is when we get to like on this map, we get to a pink stage. So in this case, we're not looking at that. This is a 30% probability. Last event was all the Metroplex, and it was like 45% in terms of damaging winds. So it's lower. It's not lower by a whole lot, but it is lower. So yeah, tie down your trampolines, please. I do not want, again, the last event that we just had with the great trampoline outbreak of 2023 2 weeks ago, I had about 300 messages in about 24 hours of trampolines going flying everywhere, you know, in homes, on top of roofs, on top of power poles. I mean, it was actually wild. I've never seen anything like it. Be real. I've never seen anything like it before. It created a trend on my page of trampolines. All right. Back over to chat. Looks like an avocado. You know, it's kind of funny. A lot of these events, people always say that. It looks like an avocado. I don't think this one looks as much, maybe a little bit. It's not nearly as defined as what I've seen in the past, but yeah, it's close. Not like, you know, exact. Rachel, I have done that in the past. The problem is I am so busy. I'm literally so busy. I do this full time. I do college full time. I don't have time, unfortunately, to be able to do like a subscription based service and whatnot. I used to do that actually back like 3 years ago during COVID when I actually had a lot of time. Now I obviously don't have that much time. Maybe sometime in the future, but I probably won't be able to do that. By the way, for those that are wondering what the question was about morning updates, you know, automatic morning updates on Facebook in the mornings or whatever for a subscription based service. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I wish I could. I wish I had enough time. But one thing I do recommend, if you are interested in like, you know, extra, you know, exclusive forecasts and stuff like that, and you're on Facebook, you can subscribe to my page for $4.99 a month. There's like a link in the description, and you do get some of those forecasts. I also posted that trampoline forecast a few days before I actually posted it on the main page. So how's it going, Pro Magic? Yeah, the secure your trash can. Yeah, let's actually talk about that real quick. Let me find the graphic here. By the way, this is crazy. I had to post this the other morning. Let me pull up the graphic. Let's go to here and do this. I literally had to post this graphic the other morning. Oh, not this one. I don't know where it just went. Here, nope. Okay, let me find it again. I lost it. So in North Texas, I had to post this graphic the other morning. The jacket meter. I've not posted this since like January, and it's pretty wild. The temperatures were in the 30s the other morning in North Texas. And I know for those that are nationwide viewers and that are not in North Texas, you're probably like, that's cold. But yes, it is cold. So here is the trash can meter. This is not today or anything like that, but this would be where it is going into tomorrow. So take a walk to find out is where the trash can meter will be tomorrow afternoon. So for Friday morning, we could be at the Gone Forever stage, but I don't think we'll get there. Take a walk to find out is probably where we'll be. So, you know, if you do have a trash can out, you'll probably have to go take a walk. And it won't just be in your neighbor's yard. I know you have to probably take a walk for any of these, but taking a walk means like going down the street. All right, let's go back over to here. Had some really crazy ideas. Another one that I'm working on is the hail one. Actually, Reed Timmer said I could use some of his hail dent things on the graphic, but similar to the trampoline graphic, I'll be making a hail graphic that shows, you know, like no hail damage, low hail damage, like that sort of thing. Basically the same thing as a trash can meter, but just with broken windshields on every single one of them. So that'll be interesting. I've gotten a few photos too from All Dense Repair, Jimmy down below. He sent me a few, which I appreciate. I'm trying to get 6 total, so if you haven't, by the way, actually, that's a good idea. If you guys have any photos of your windshield being damaged by hail, send them to me by either email. If you're on YouTube, my email's in the link in the description below, or you can message me on Facebook, because I'm actually looking for hail damage graphics. Again, make sure that you actually own them and they're actually your photos, because I'll be trying to make a graphic for that soon. That's another graphic I'm working on right now. The trash can meter was the main one, though. Jody, unfortunately, I cannot zoom in on this. One thing I can zoom in on is my software, but I don't have that pulled up. I'll have to do that sometime soon. I want to do a live stream where I'm just using my weather software. That'll be pretty cool. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that pulled up right now, because I can actually zoom in and stuff like that on there. But meteorologist, more like a graphic designer. Yeah, honestly, with all the graphics I make, let's go back over to here. Well, I mean, these are basic. These, I wouldn't say they're basic, but these are like ones that I, usually do all the time. Severe weather threats. Again, we did this. Again, this is for tomorrow, by the way. These are like actual things. And then the severe weather outlook, I do this pretty much all the time too. This is one of them that I, it's more recent and new. A lot of the meters are new, for those that are wondering, like the trash can meter here. This one's also new. So again, tomorrow is at a take a walk to find out. This is not new. I just found this on my Facebook page. So this is where we're looking right now. Take a walk to find out for tomorrow. And yeah, so I have a lot of different meters. I also have the winter jacket one, but we're kind of out of season, or we're getting close to it now, so will not be around for too much longer. I'll have probably 2 more days, if that I use the winter or the jacket meter forecast. Stay tuned for that. How's it going, Evan? Yeah, I love the meters, so they're really cool. It all started with the trash can meter back in January, believe it or not. Or actually, it might have been last month. I can't remember. Yeah, Pro Magic, feel free to. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. I'll be live for another 15 to 20 minutes. Which is probably. I might be live a little bit longer. We'll see. If there's a lot of questions, I'll be live longer. Sarah, most of the severe weather will begin as early as 3 o'clock. If you're in North Texas, which you are, because that's on Facebook, sorry. We're live on both Facebook and YouTube, just for reference. But if you're in North Texas, the timing is probably going to be between 3 to 8 o'clock. Really, the storms right now, the HRR model is indicating somewhere between 4 to 5 o'clock is when convection will begin to really boil here across North Texas. And 6 o'clock is probably when it will peak. So that's the timing right now, and then eventually going closer to 7. This is what it looks like right now on the estimated future radar. Then 8 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock. And then 10 o'clock. Abilene will not see severe weather. You might see like you might see a little bit of rain overnight Thursday into Friday, but it will be very minimal. You can see here, this is Friday morning. You actually do have a chance, believe it or not. This might shock you, but you actually have a chance for maybe a few snow flurries. There's a low chance. I'm not putting a really high probability yet on this. I have not done a whole lot of research on this chance yet, but there might be a little rain and snow mix Friday morning, even as far east as DFW. So keep that in mind. And if it's not rain and snow, it would be sleet and rain. So sleet, rain, or rain, snow, sleet. I think DFW will probably start more of a rain sleet mix, but again, this will not accumulate, no travel impacts. But yeah, if you're over in Abilene, you might enjoy. Enjoy a few snowflakes. You would have to be up like overnight. It will not accumulate. So, unfortunately. How's it going, Moreau? You're not getting notifications? Do you have YouTube notifications turned on? Yeah, so I've had this question asked a few times. Do I think that there will be a moderate threat of severe weather? No, I don't expect one. I don't expect one at all here in North Texas. I just don't. I'd be surprised if they issue a moderate threat. I'd be pretty shocked because I just don't think the environment is primed for supercells and stuff like that. And I almost guarantee you there'll probably be a few severe storms in here. But is that really worth a moderate risk of severe weather? I don't think so. But I could be wrong. You never know. I don't know. Because that's a small area, in my opinion, for a moderate risk of severe weather. Even though it's almost guaranteed we'll see some large hail in this region, which would probably prompt a 45% chance of hail. I don't know. I don't think it's a large enough area to do it in. That's just my opinion, though. I'm not the Storm Prediction Center, so I have no clue. They might issue one. I just don't think there will be one, but I think it's pretty likely though that we'll see large hail somewhere in this region, which would prompt most likely something like that, but I still don't think this area is large enough, but we'll see. I don't think this enhanced risk will really grow either tomorrow, to be honest. I think this is a pretty good area. The only thing that might increase that enhanced risk is the damaging wind threat going into like midnight and stuff like that. We might have some storms in southern North Texas, back near Waco, and even just south of there, and even back through southwestern Arkansas. There might be some damaging winds, but that's already covered basically with this enhanced risk. Waco is not included in that. I mean, I wouldn't rule out an extension like this for an enhanced risk. That might prompt them to issue a moderate risk for hail, but I still don't think they'll do that. But I don't know. I've never worked from the Storm Prediction Center before, so I have no clue. I don't really know what their criteria is exactly for that, but I'm pretty sure if there were to be any extension to the enhanced risk, it would be like this. Or a little, it was probably the last one was better. It was kind of like this. And maybe a little bit back out here as well. So, you know, maybe even a little bit higher, you know, just do that. That's a great drawing. But yeah, this might be, if there were to be an enhanced risk grown, it would probably be to this magnitude, but again, we'll find out at like 1 a.m. I think. I'll be up at 1 a.m. to post the new update on the Storm Prediction Center on Facebook, so stay tuned. Interesting stuff. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, and you're enjoying the coverage, make sure, again, to like the video. It's free to do. And also make sure to follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube, whichever one you're watching on. And if you want to support the page above and beyond, you can become a member on YouTube. Click the join button down below. It's $2.99 a month. It gives you a lot of benefits, bloopers access, and much more. Make sure to check that out with the join button or the top link in the description. If you're on Facebook, you become a member, or not a member, a subscriber for $4.99 a month. The link is in the description as well on there. Hail could be up to the size of baseballs. Hail up to the size of baseballs. Am I doing personal forecasts? I don't really do personal forecasts, I'd say, but I mean, I answer questions. So if you have any questions, let me know. If I did personal forecasts for every one of you, which is like 500 people watching on both platforms right now, it would be very chaotic. I try to avoid a lot of the questions, like, you know, I answer them all the time with these sort of forecasts, but when I get like, you know, cities and towns, like small towns, stuff like that, and they're trying to ask questions like, you know, what's going to happen in like Rockwall, for example, you know, I get those questions all the time. I try to avoid those a lot because they get kind of repetitive when I already talk about that general area. With these forecasts, I mean, already they're pretty specific, to be honest. Like when I'm talking about, let's go back to the radar. So let's just say around 5, 6 o'clock, you're wondering what's going to be the timing in the Metroplex, probably between 5 to 8 o'clock. And then if you ask like Sherman, it's pretty much the same time frame when you look at the future radar. So I try to avoid repetitive questions in that nature, even though they're not like the same town and city, but you know what I mean. Personal ASMR forecasts, yeah. I actually, you know, it's funny enough, when I went to college, I thought the walls would be too hear through. So I was planning on, if I needed to, and if people heard me when they're sleeping or whatever, for late night live streams, I was like, I might have to do ASMR forecasts. And I'm glad I did not have to. Because that would have been very, very, that would have been so weird. People would be like, are you crazy? I mean, I guess it's better than no live coverage. You like gladiator movies? I've actually never watched them. I don't watch a whole lot of movies. Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate it. Kaufman County, main threat, large hail and damaging winds. Timing right around 6 to 8 o'clock, most likely. You could see storms as late as 10 o'clock, so 6 to 10 is probably a reasonable time frame. I would still watch. It would be really funny. Like, I would have to literally put my mic up to my face and like just like talk into it. You never know, you know, with college and all that. Never know. That'd be pretty wild, though. Reed Timmer will be chasing tomorrow. That's not surprising. I already knew that, but... Central Arkansas. Sure, yeah, I haven't really talked about Arkansas much. This is a look at Central Arkansas. Main threat is going to be damaging winds, if anything. Maybe some isolated quarter-sized hail, but a lot of rain. That's really the big thing for Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a bit of an overrated rating right now in terms of where it's at. I think it's like a slight risk in here. Damaging winds, though, is the main threat. other than that, there won't be much. Actually, no, it's not overrated. Never mind. Marginal threat works. Never mind. I thought that was slight for some reason, but no, that works. I would agree with that. We're only 2 likes from 250 on YouTube. Make sure to hit the like button. Also, make sure to subscribe. Also, I did a new thumbnail today because I could, for some reason, I don't know if you guys noticed this on YouTube. Let me know in the comments if you do. Do you guys ever notice on YouTube where there's like an image at the bottom right, but you don't see it because of the timestamp? I don't know if anybody ever notices that. I don't know if live streams are the same way. Let me look. No, live streams are not the same way, I don't think. All right, so on live streams, I will have to go back to the normal way before because it actually looked better that way. Never mind. Learn something new every day. Thank you, Lucy, for becoming a Storm Chaser member. I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Thank you. I get pretty serious when there's a tornado warning. Yes, I do. Imagine ASMR during a tornado warning. That would be so bad. How's it going, Zero? Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you tuning in. The main threats across most of North Texas, again, will be large hail, especially in the Metroplex. This is where we're going to be watching for the main hail threat. There will be a lower hail threat the further east and south you go from DFW. Damaging wind threat is a bit higher just to the east of the Metroplex. This is that region there. And then also our tornado threat is low. It is not that high. So don't be concerned too much about the tornado threat. Have a plan in place. But again, it's pretty similar to the last event that we saw. The only difference is that we might see a couple of discrete cells initially, which might spur maybe an isolated tornado threat near the Metroplex, but I think that'll be low. Seen any trampolines recently? No, I have not, but we have a trampoline meter handy. For tomorrow's severe weather potential, there is now right now a high risk for trampoline damage. For those that are wondering when we had the great trampoline outbreak, if I had this type of forecast then, we would have probably been in the gone forever stage, or gone forever, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it would have probably been somewhere around there. And we also have a trash can meter for those that are wondering. So tomorrow the trash can meter is currently at take a walk to find out. Ignore this. This is, I didn't update this graphic. This is from March 13th, but yeah, take a walk to find out for the trash can meter for tomorrow. Yep, I make crazy graphics. Don't ask. Yes, they are my graphics. Actually, I had the trampoline meter in the forecast from yesterday, if you watched. For those that watch on YouTube, I had that in my forecast yesterday. A few people noticed it, or actually a good amount of you guys noticed it. A lot of people commented on it. I'll try to include those graphics a little bit more often in the weather forecast. How's it going, Clay? Welcome back. What about Gone with the Wind? I couldn't fit that in the line. If I were to do that, I wouldn't have been able to fit it into that line. I wish I could, but I only had so many. I mean, like every one of those phrases is like 2 words. Yeah, 2 words. That's all I could have fit. Unfortunately, I wish I could have done better. By the way, for those that are in North Texas, if you guys didn't see this today, there's actually a photo that I just posted on Facebook. I have a scheduled post that just came out. I schedule a lot of my posts on Facebook, by the way, for those that are wondering, just so I can kind of balance things out, not spam posts all at the same time. But this is what we saw today from Michael Petrie. He sent this in. This is a photo of some really cool clouds. These are called cloud streets. And this was visible over DFW. This is what it looked like on satellite imagery. So very cool stuff. This is what we're looking at, by the way. I can't really, can I zoom in on this? I can zoom in a little bit. So yeah, this is what it looks like zoomed in. And look at the Interstate 20 area, and really anywhere in here, but this is all your like streaks here, cloud streaks. They're so cool. So cool. But they are pretty rare. So if you saw them today, this was again a satellite imagery from a little bit earlier today. But again, that's the photo. Let me go back out here so I don't have any issues with the other graphics. That's 100%. There we go. But yeah, again, this is what it looks like here. Again, I can't center it, or can I? Nope, can't center it. So yeah, that's what we're looking at there. Again, cloud streets, really cool stuff. This is again out of the Metroplex, and this is a better zoomed in look. So see the layers, the different clouds, really cool stuff. And by the way, did anybody else in this chat see those today? Just curious. You would have had to have been in North Texas to see them, but they were pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. If you have any photos, by the way, feel free to message me on Facebook. Thank goodness trash can day was today. I am on Facebook, Clay. I am. I've been on Facebook for 4 years, I think now, for North Texas Weather Center. The name has changed a couple of times, but yeah, I've been on there for 4 years. I've been on there much longer than YouTube. I've only been on YouTube. I'm coming up almost a year of being on YouTube for live streams and stuff like that. I mean, I've technically been on YouTube for like 4 years too, but Clay, the link is in the description. But it's called NTXWC or North Texas Weather Center. Again, we're both live on YouTube and Facebook. Tim, I actually have not researched that because I've never seen them before. Let me see if I can find a quick explanation on them. So they are oriented parallel to the direction of wind, which makes sense actually, because if you look at the satellite imagery, I don't know if I'm in the right position. Let me go a little bit down here. So you can see this is where the winds are coming. So from north to south. I believe they were at least today. Let's go over to here. The actual name for them is horizontal convective rolls. Obviously, again, cloud streets are what a lot of people call them because it doesn't sound really scientific-y. Scientific-y, that's not a word. But let's see. So it happens when the wind driving the clouds hits an obstacle. That's interesting, actually. Huh. I'm kind of trying to read up on these. It's actually kind of cool. Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw these, dude. Like, they look really cool. Like, again, if we look at the photo here. Really cool stuff. Again, this is from Michael Petrie, but yeah. I'll have to look into them more. It's actually kind of a cool phenomenon. I've never seen these before, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it's really rare, too. It doesn't happen, like, all the time. It happens, I'd say, probably a couple times a year. Not everywhere, though. Really cool, though. All right. Let's go back over to here. I will definitely be looking into that, though. If I can, I'll post an explanation. Maybe tonight. Let's see. Depends on how long this live stream goes. If you have any other questions about severe weather, anything like that, feel free to let me know. I was going to talk about the winter storm in this live stream, but I'll save that for tomorrow, I think. Yeah. Yeah, if I have time tomorrow, I'll talk about the winter storm. Honestly, the winter storm's not going to be anything that crazy. It's not like a crazy winter storm. This is kind of like typical at this point. But this is the current estimate on the winter snowfall totals for tomorrow. Not much, to be honest with you. Really not a whole lot. So I didn't really talk about much. It's, you know, the highest snowfall totals will be right along the Great Lakes or in the upper Michigan Peninsula, really. But other than that, again, not that high of snowfall totals. So I won't really be talking about that in the live stream. I was thinking about it, but it's not going to be that significant. Even though they do have winter storm warnings in effect. It's a couple of areas in particular. Nebraska and as well as Minnesota. So if you are in either two of those areas, you might see some snow. Yeah, Gulf Coast sees them more often than not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen those in the Gulf Coast before, but I've never actually seen the clouds, like, you know, in an actual photograph, which is kind of crazy, to be honest with you. Keep that stuff in Canada. Winter is going to be winding down here soon, but one thing to keep in mind, by the way, for winter, let me find out. I just lost that graphic because I closed it out. Really smart. Couple of things to keep in mind for anybody in North Texas and all across the country. Again, we're gonna have a cold blast after the severe weather potential tomorrow. It's gonna get really cold this weekend. Temperatures into the 40s and low 50s for highs. In the morning, we could be down into the upper 20s and 30s for lows in areas like North Texas. Again, colder air will usher in from the back end of this low pressure system, and you can see all that wind, or not all the wind. You can't see the wind on here, but you can see this is kind of what we're looking at here in terms of the cold blast across the United States. Pretty impressive stuff here for sure. And even going through next week, we'll have another low pressure system next week, but nothing in comparison to what we'll see this week. This should be the last shot of winter for North Texas. I say should because we sometimes see some surprises, but the last average, or the last freeze we've ever had on record in DFW, I believe, was like April 2nd or something like that, or April 12th. So, but going into next week, we'll have another system, most likely Thursday into Friday. Yep, I know Thursdays for some reason are going crazy in North Texas, but we might see some more severe weather next Thursday. and another winter storm potentially in the Northeast and back through the Midwest, but we are way too early to be talking about this. If you hear anybody talking about this on any weather forecast, it's just a bunch of hype right now because we are way too far out for forecasting that, but possibility for that to happen, but too early to tell. This low pressure system, though, on the European model is going crazy, so I'd probably say that that's not going to happen. You want warmth? Actually, if we go over to the North Texas Weather Center website, and you can find this with the link tree or the link tree link in the description, we have a bunch of automatically updating graphics. I'm not sure if this one is, this one's not my forecast, like this is updating automatically, but this is currently the North Texas 7-day forecast. So I have nothing centered, but that's what we're looking at there. And yeah, pretty cold. Temperatures will probably be in the upper 40s for highs on Sunday and Monday. Maybe as low as 45 for highs in the Metroplex. That's my forecast right now, is the, I think 45 or 46 was my latest 7-day forecast. So that's automatically updating. We have a lot of updating graphics on the website that literally update automatically. I'll actually link it to you guys if you want to check it out. It's all under the weather tab and in the severe weather center tab for those in North Texas. I will link that in the chat. So I think that's on both Facebook and YouTube from Restream. If you guys don't see the link, let me know. Don't know if it posted or not. Oh, it actually did post under my name. That's cool. All right. It's not. It should post under my name. Let me know if you see it or you don't see it, though. If you're on Facebook, just let me know, because I don't have that chat actually opened. I only have it open on Restream. Those temperatures suck. Please take down that graphic and change it. I wish I could, but I can't. But honestly, a lot of people would be complaining more than likely about it being too warm in comparison to too cold, especially with summer not too far away. You know, enjoy it while the temperatures last, because it will be a hot summer. Highs in the upper 90s, most likely for a large chunk of the summer, or at least mid-90s. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in and you're enjoying the stream, make sure to hit the like button down below. We're only 2 subscribers from 32,000 to 250, or 34,250, excuse me, on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe down below if you're new, and turn on post notifications. By the way, I will be probably live for this severe weather event tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday so far. This week is flying by. I'm on spring break right now, and man, the week is flying by so fast. Have a great night, Clay. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good rest of your night. Anything like last year? Do you mean for like summer? Is that what you're wondering? Because last year's summer was pretty wild. It was so hot for the first like couple of months, and then the temperatures just dove down after that big flooding event that we had in August. So that was a crazy event in August. That was one of the crazier flooding events I've seen. Dallas got like 15 inches. So hey, don't jinx it, Jess. Don't jinx it. I'll hopefully have a voice completely. I have no issues right now, but the reason why I lost my voice last time was because I was sick. I probably will never do that again. I'll probably never go live again when I'm sick with a, you know, like a cold or something like that, because my voice literally was gone for a good 5 days. I couldn't upload a video on YouTube for 5 days because of that. Yeah, last year was bad. I think this year will be a little bit better. Low chance of flying cows. Yeah, right. For Haskell County will not see severe weather tomorrow. It will be good. Yeah, this severe weather, this severe weather event is pretty interesting, mainly due to the fact this low pressure system that we're watching. Let me go over another graphic here. The low pressure system is not overly organized. This is going into tomorrow afternoon. Low pressure systems here, it's not that organized, to be honest. I mean, we have rain really streaking from Minnesota all the way back through North Texas. And again, this is not organized really whatsoever, in my opinion, but it's interesting. It'll become more organized by Friday, but the threat of severe weather, it's not a big area. And again, if you look at like the HRR model on the dew points and whatnot, the moisture is going to be surging into areas like Missouri. It's going to go pretty far off to the north. That could, you know, lead to maybe a couple of severe storms. But really, the big thing is the dew points are much higher down here in the south and just so disorganized. It's actually quite impressive that we're going to see this sort of event with a low pressure system disorganized as much as it is. And if we do like a regional view here of the southern plains, this is what it looks like in motion. So you can see the storms fire up. Again, as far north as areas like Missouri, but the convection will be a lot more close together. There'll be more rain, maybe an isolated storm in there, severe weather not expected, more buoyancy down here in Texas and southern Oklahoma. That'll create more supercell thunderstorms, and by the evening and overnight hours, storms will continue to plow through East Texas and into Louisiana and Arkansas. So some interesting stuff for sure, and then this will become pretty disorganized. It'll be more of just a damaging wind threat. And even going into, let's go into the day 3 outlook. Right now, there is a slight risk of severe weather. Let me see if this is on the screen. Yeah, it's barely on the screen, but you can see down here over in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, all those areas included in a slight risk of severe weather right along the Gulf Coast. But it's, again, not that impressive. The instability is interesting. Let's actually go to the instability. So that's a significant tornado parameter. That's the lapse rate, and this is not it either. Did I pull down the graphic? I did. All right. We have to go back to that graphic. But the instability is quite interesting with this event, to be honest with you. Let's go through the instability. And this is what helps to fuel thunderstorms, by the way. So it's just like putting gasoline into a vehicle. This is what helps to fuel severe thunderstorms. In this case, instability does streak even as far north as Missouri. But again, I think that severe weather threat here is extremely low to zero. This is really the area where the higher instability values are. This is where we're watching, especially in southern Oklahoma, back through Texas. Look at North Texas, by the way. Values upwards, let's see, of 2,500. Yeah, that's 2,500 joules per kilogram. That's actually higher, I think, than what we just saw at the 18Z model run. Let's double check that. Yeah, that's actually a lot higher. The instability that is currently being projected by the HR model has gone up substantially by about 1,000 joules per kilogram. That is pretty wild stuff. And that actually probably is not a good sign for us. That might increase the hail threat a bit, even more than what it is. So that is not good. But that is the latest actually on the most recent HR model run. And yeah, again, those are high values, 2,500 joules per kilogram. It peaks around 2,700. Currently, again, this is estimated. It's not, actually, exactly going to happen that way, but it's our best guess basically. And you can see how the instability, by the way, by Friday morning, it's only along the Gulf Coast. There's nothing up here in Mississippi or northern Alabama that's actually, there's no instability there. So if anything, it'll just be rain across those regions. And with a disorganized low pressure system like this, a collapsing area of instability going southeast does happen a bit more often with these sort of events. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I like to talk about a lot of this stuff. Sorry if you have no clue what I'm talking about, but hail is the greatest threat in DFW. Yes, hail is the greatest threat. And if you want a bit more of an in-depth dive on these severe weather threats, here you go. Honestly, I've been kind of debating this, but large hail, I've been considering putting at the high risk, but I'm not going to probably unless something changes. So, you can move that over. Wind threat is medium. Tornado threat is low. This is for North Texas particularly. And again, very large hail is possible. We could see upwards of baseball-sized hail. With the most recent model runs here, we actually could get even a little bit higher than that with an isolated storm, maybe up to apple-sized hail, but I would say that's a low chance right now. But yeah, looking at right now for that. Again, here's your timing guide if you're in North Texas. So if you're curious about when you might see storms, change this to 4 o'clock. So 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., change that. But other than that, everything else stands true. Main reason why is because storms will probably form slightly earlier back up north of the Red River. And honestly, I wouldn't even rule out that they could develop as early as like 3:30. So keep that in mind. Here's the threat of severe weather as well. And then obviously our trampoline risk is currently high for tomorrow. And also our trash can meter. We are currently at Take a Walk to find out for tomorrow. Yep, those are our graphics. Know them a lot, so I've kind of already gone over a bunch of those, but again, if you want more details like on anything in terms of severe weather for tomorrow and you want a lot of your questions answered, you can watch the first 15 minutes of this live stream. After the live stream's over, you can go back and watch the beginning. There will be everything there for you. This video is not going to go private or anything like that. So McKinney will be between 4 to 8 o'clock. Have a great night, Ro. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a great night. What about flying basketball hoops? Honestly, the craziest thing that I saw with basketball hoops on the severe weather event 2 weeks ago with the great trampoline outbreak of 2023 was just them falling down or blowing down the road. I didn't see anything that crazy, so I didn't make a meter for that. But there might be some there might be a couple of basketball hoops that might go flying down the road. This will not be as bad as the trampoline event, but hail threat will be much higher than the trampoline event. Much higher. We didn't really see any hail out of that event a couple Thursdays ago. Jordan, I wouldn't expect really anything. Maybe an isolated damaging wind gust up to 60 miles per hour in the entire state. But other than that, probably not going to be much. Instability is pretty low tomorrow. If you're enjoying the stream, again, friendly reminder to hit the like button down below, subscribe on YouTube if you've not already, and follow the page if you're on Facebook. Yeah, there'll definitely be Storm Chasers live tomorrow, definitely. And again, I'll be live on both YouTube and Facebook if it is covering in North Texas. That is the only area that'll be covering. All right. Is Red River County in this? Red River County is. Yeah, Red River County will see some storms probably after 6 o'clock, somewhere between 6 to 10 for Red River County. That's the timing here. For those that are wondering, by the way, where is North Texas? Where am I actually covering tomorrow? Let me pull up a graphic that'll show you. I have a graphic. Actually, I can just show you one of my normal graphics. Let's go to here. So this is our technical coverage area. Let me move this face cam over. For tomorrow, these are the areas that we're mainly covering, anywhere that has a county boxed. However, this does expand out here. So just an update. This is all included out here. But anywhere that is countied in here, anywhere that's in the box county areas. But again, it does now include Red River County. Does not include Texarkana, but again, if I'm still live by then, I'll still be covering that area. So, and also, actually, one more thing to note here. For those along the Red River, I will probably cover that as well, since it's included in the event. So, but I'm prioritizing North Texas tomorrow, as I did for the last event that was a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, again, if you're curious on that sort of thing, that is what we're doing tomorrow. North Texas, primarily. But again, I'll do a few areas outside of that. And that does include, again, Red River County. Saying Red River County quickly is hard to do. All right, any last second questions? Feel free to let me know in the chat. Again, friendly reminder, hit the like button down below and subscribe. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, and you want to support the page above and beyond, again, you become a subscriber on Facebook for $4.99 a month. You can click the link in the description. You can also donate to the page. There's a link in the description for that as well. If you're on YouTube and you want to support the page, you can click the top link in the description to become a member. And if you want to donate, there's also a link somewhere in the description. So it's always very well appreciated, but obviously never required. And when you graduate, you should move down here and do TV meteorology. Where's down here? It's a lot of down here's in terms of states. Jim, I don't expect a moderate risk of severe weather tomorrow. No, I don't expect it right now. Timing for Denton. Denton will see storms between 4 to 7. Maybe as late as 8. But 4 to 8. Put in that time frame. At least it's a 4-hour time frame. I wouldn't rule out a storm as early as 2 to 3 o'clock. Again, it just depends on what happens tomorrow morning with the environment and where this dry line really sets up by then. We might see a storm earlier than that, but again, kind of a little bit. It's not early on that. It's just more of like, you know, things may change a little bit. So, Jenny, I do. Yes, I do. But Florida's nice. Florida's nice during like the winter, spring, fall. It's just so hot during the summer. And it's humid. That's the problem. Timing in Fort Worth, again, is 4 to 8. As late as 9, though, is possible in Fort Worth, or South Fort Worth. Same thing for Arlington. Guys, if you have any questions about DFW Metroplex, 4 to 8. That's the time frame. Give or take an hour on both sides. So 3 to 9 is really the time frame, but the best chance is 4 to 8. I've had like 20 questions in the last like 2 minutes on just the DFW area. Anywhere in the Metroplex, that same time frame. Here's the timing guide, actually. I'll pull this up. Makes it a bit easier. Again, this is our timing for tomorrow. Let me move myself over there. Again, this is, cross this out, make that 4. Even make it 3. You could make that 3, but again, this is your best chance. This isn't necessarily when you'll definitely see storms, but your best chance to see severe weather or any storm activity is between 4 to 8 o'clock, really in the entire Metroplex. So again, that's your timing. And I know it's kind of a wide range, but you know, the problem is the dry line's not going to be moving that fast. So we'll have a bit more of a larger time frame than we usually do. So I'll leave this up on the screen for, you know, another 15 seconds. Take a screenshot, that sort of thing, if you want to get more of a deep dive look. And if you're wondering, I'm on the line, what should I expect? Just expect sometime between this sort of case before 5 to about, 5 o'clock, that sort of thing. If you're on this line, when should I expect storms? Between 6 to 10 o'clock, that sort of time frame. Best chance for storms in the blue area will probably be between 6 to 10. But depends on how far south and east you go. It gets a bit later then. But that is the time frame for severe weather, or potential for severe weather. Again, not everybody will see severe weather. I have to make that reminder all the time because it's not everybody will see severe weather. But it's funny. It's kind of funny. So I saw a comment on Twitter. And it's like I can't remember what it exactly was, but basically like, what's your biggest weather pet peeve? And somebody mentioned like when a person or a meteorologist says a tornado is on the ground. Have you ever thought about that phrase? Because a tornado, by definition, is on the ground. Or basically just repeating the definition twice in the same phrase. It's kind of a funny thing. I actually never realized that. I'm not gonna lie. So when you say there's a tornado on the ground, you're basically repeating yourself twice. Never really thought of it that way. I don't know why I just realized that, but kind of funny. Been covering this forever and I didn't know that. Interesting stuff. Yeah, funnel is on the ground. No, I mean, honestly, when somebody says a tornado is on the ground, though, it's kind of funny. Funnel cloud, though, when people say funnel cloud, they don't say anything like a funnel cloud is, up in the sky or something like that. It's kind of funny. I just realized that recently. I say it all the time. I will admit, and I will probably still say it all the time because it's valid. There you go. Interesting stuff. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. Live here for a few more minutes. There be another storm behind this. Yeah, I mean, somebody was posting on Facebook, and this drives me nuts sometimes. People will post on Facebook, an hour 150 outlook showing snow in Texas, and things change that far out, especially with snow, and especially during March, and it's just to kind of get clicks and all that. So people do it all the time, but in this sort of case, we're not really looking at any crazy stuff behind it. There is a chance, yes, there is a chance for snow. The other day, though, somebody posted a graphic that showed snow all over the state. And, obviously, again, it got a bunch of clicks. But that's kind of what happens on Facebook when people post those sort of graphics. But one thing to keep in mind is that this will not be anywhere near North Texas. Possibly going into late Sunday, maybe Monday, but the chance is very low. High pressure is going to be dominating, especially with the cold blast that we'll see. But there is actually a low chance for snow in North Texas. It actually is a bit more of a realistic outlook. Going into, not tomorrow, but on Friday morning. Low chance there might be a little rain, sleet, snow mix behind or in the rain Friday morning. So you might wake up to a few sleet pellets hitting your window, but this is not going to accumulate. Francie, they are not what you think they are. This is what you're probably talking about. These are cloud streets. They are not developed by planes. Good try. This is actually what it looked like on infrared imagery, by the way. Or not infrared imagery, sorry, the visible satellite. I'm used to always talking about the infrared imagery. This is the visible satellite, and you can actually see those lines here. All over the place. All over the place. Cool stuff. Again, this is all from southerly winds and, yeah, cloud streets, also known as like horizontal convective cells or something like that. I can't remember what the third word was, but cool stuff. This is again from Michael Petrie. Really cool stuff. Those happen a lot more often than not along the Gulf Coast. Live in Sherman, be prepared. Yeah, if you live anywhere in the Metroplex, again, be prepared tomorrow. Protect your car, all that sort of stuff. And if you do have any damage, again, I highly recommend the sponsors I have, and I know I'm getting paid to talk about them, but, you know, I honestly do recommend them. Like Platinum Contracting, they've been with me for 2 years. They are veteran-owned, best roofing company in the Metroplex, in my opinion. Make sure to check them out if you have any roofing damage. And All Dents Repair, Jimmy has been with me for 3 years now, and he does a phenomenal job there. He literally gives people rental cars and stuff like that for hail damage if you have any damage there. So, again, make sure to give him a call or text, that sort of thing. I think call. I don't think text works. I could be wrong. Highly recommend them. And again, North Texas based companies. Houston will not be that bad. Damaging winds up to 60 is my only concern down there. Right now, Houston's actually in the slight risk, but it's really just for isolated damaging winds. This is Houston's future radar. So storms will arrive like 3, 4 in the morning. And that's going to be from probably an outflow boundary. I would expect more of just gusty winds, maybe isolated damaging winds, but yeah, it won't be much. Houston should be all right. I remember covering Houston a couple months ago for a tornado warning. I don't know if you guys remember that. We were live just for a tornado warning near Houston. I don't know if a tornado actually ever got confirmed out of that. I think it was a funnel cloud, but you might remember that if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, you have no clue what I'm probably talking about because I was on YouTube only. I know Virginia would recall. Virginia is at like every single live stream. I think, almost everyone. Okay. Not even gonna say that. How bad will Oklahoma be tomorrow? It's really only gonna be southeastern Oklahoma. Where'd the timing go? Right here. So yeah, southeast Oklahoma. If you look at the bottom right of your screen, McAllister area, this is where we might see some storms fire up. Actually, we got a new model run. Let's go through this one. This is what we're looking at for timing. So storms likely to fire up during the early to mid-afternoon hours, potentially near Oklahoma City, and then this is when storms really explode right north of the Red River, and that's where we're really looking for severe weather. It's going to primarily be in here. However, there could be a few storms that are severe inside of this region as well. Isolated, more numerous in here. I can't spell, but there you go. So that's what we're looking at there. Timing is going to primarily be from about 1 o'clock to about 8 o'clock, depending on where you are. Further east you are, the later of that time frame. We did have a tornado. Yeah, there was actually a tornado warning in Arizona and California today, I think. California, I can't remember. But there was at least one tornado warning in Arizona at like a couple hours ago, which is kind of crazy. South Louisiana? Yeah, let's go over South Louisiana. I have that on here. I do not. Let me go over to South Louisiana. Louisiana, though, for those in southern Louisiana, mainly just a damaging wind up to 60-mile-per-hour threat. Timing is tomorrow, or not tomorrow morning, Friday morning, and it'll be between, depending on where you are, anywhere from like 6 a.m. all the way up to maybe like 2 or 3 o'clock. Again, it depends on where you are at. I'm guessing you're probably in the Lake Charles or Lafayette area. That's my guess. That's usually where most people are in those areas. But probably somewhere between about 6 to like 10 o'clock. Unusual for Arizona. It really is. Yeah, it is. It's definitely unusual. Friendly reminder, we are live on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you hear me answering a question that you don't see in chat, that is why. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, man, you're enjoying the stream, make sure to hit the like button down below. It's free to do. And again, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our page. We're pretty close to 34,300 subscribers. And if you're on Facebook, make sure to follow our page. Again, we'll be live most likely tomorrow for any huge severe weather stuff in the Metroplex. Again, we'll be primarily just doing a North Texas coverage. We will be live again tomorrow on both YouTube and Facebook, so you can watch wherever you want. whichever one makes it easier for you. I know if you're trying to watch me on YouTube, you can watch it on your TV, on your smart TV. Get the YouTube app and watch me live on TV if you'd rather watch me instead of like the news. Again, that's always an option. So just pull up the YouTube app on your smart TV, whatever it's called. I think it's smart TV. I have a lot of viewers, actually, surprisingly. I'm pretty sure like 30% of the people that are watching right now are probably watching on TV, because that is, I'm sure my statistics are like 30% watch on TV, which is pretty wild. Pretty wild. How's it going, Chris? Welcome back. Alrighty, well, that's gonna do it for the stream. I've gone over pretty much every question. I mean, honestly, this is not like a huge event. It's actually pretty confined. So it's not like I'm answering millions of questions like the last event that we had 2 weeks ago. It's a lot more confined in a sense where the area is actually going to be for the most significant hailstone sizes and stuff like that. So if you have any questions and you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can comment on the video after it's done, or you can just go back to the first few minutes of the live stream. I have a full forecast at the beginning going over all the details. Everything that you absolutely need to know is at the very beginning of this live stream. So just refresh the page after this live stream is finished, and you can watch the entire live stream, or at least the beginning of it. That's where we really talk about all the stuff. It's within the next, it's within like the first 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, that's like the easiest way to do it. I'll try to answer some questions though after the live stream. Again, if you enjoyed, make sure to like the video on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're at. Also, again, make sure to follow our page and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you want to support the page above and beyond, again, you become a member on YouTube for as little as $2.99 a month. It's the top link in the description. Also on Facebook, it's $4.99 a month to become a subscriber. You get exclusive forecasts, all that sort of stuff, and a badge on Facebook. Again, that link is also in the description. Again, I plan on being live tomorrow, so turn on post notifications. If you're on YouTube, there is a bell icon that you can click to get notified when I go live. Also on Facebook, I believe there's something like that, but I have absolutely no clue. Yeah, that's about it. Kimmy, if you want to become a subscriber, you can't become a member on Facebook. You have to go on YouTube for that. If you want to become a subscriber, there is a link in the description of the post. So just look at the description. There should be a link there. There should also be a pinned message in the chat. It's called subscriber on Facebook. I wish it was just called a member, but for some reason they call it a subscriber, which makes it confusing with YouTube and Facebook. But appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great, safe rest of your night, guys. Again, we'll be live sometime probably around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. So that's the plan. Have a great night. We'll see you guys all again soon, and have a safe